Welcome back to Fit for Real Life with Virginia. Today, I'm so excited because we're diving into a conversation with someone who I met on Instagram, and now we get to chat in real life. I'm so excited. We are traveling to Spain today, but not in a way that would stress you or me out or make me feel like I need 12 color-coded spreadsheets. And the person guiding us through this is Abby Gray, the Spain travel expert behind Experience España, Abby, someone who has over 30 years of lived, breathed, loved Spain experience. If you follow her online, you know she teaches travel that is respectful, immersive, connects you to real culture. We're going to talk about slow mornings, food that changes your mood, and experiences that make you rethink the pace of your life. So grab a coffee, grab a glass of wine, or head out for a walk, and let's jump in. All right.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
Yes. Thank you, Abby.
I'm
I'm so
very
excited you're
excited.
here. I want to bring our listeners to Spain for a moment. So if people aren't watching this on my YouTube channel, I'd like for them to close their eyes. And if you're not driving, Abby, I would love for you to describe your favorite place in Spain. What are you seeing? What are you hearing? What are you smelling?
Okay, so S- Spain as a whole is just a vibe, in my opinion. But Madrid, I'm a city girl, and Madrid has had my heart since 1994 when I first lived there in college. And there is something magical about that city. It is like being on a movie set. The buildings are old and huge and span city blocks, and there's city noise that I actually love. And I feel like there's the smell. I always think the smell of a little bit of exhaust from buses and things like that. But just, I don't know. It's just, it feels so good to me to be there. There is just such a vibrancy to the city. But there's history and the culture, just seeing the people living their lives just is just it's just Spain to me. And so it's to me that's quintessential Spain. Now there are other Spains, of course, like small towns, beaches, mountains, but something about Madrid is really quintessential to me.
I love that. That's not what I would have expected you answered, which
What
is
did you what
I
did
would
you
have thought
expect?
I would have thought Barcelona or something beach-like. So I love this. This is
Mm,
very good. This is why we're chatting.
this is good. No, Barcelona has my heart also. That is tricky, but not because of the beach. It's
Oh,
just a different city, but it's the cities that absolutely give me so much peace and calm, actually. It's
oh,
weird. I
I
know,
love
makes no
that.
sense.
Okay, so take us back before your Spain experience, before what you're doing now. What's sort of your origin story of your relationship with Spain? You mentioned 1994, so can you dive into that a little bit?
I would love to. So I have known that I knew I wanted to be a Spanish teacher since I was in high school. And I did study abroads in various places. I was very lucky to have family that was super, especially my dad was super supportive, understood, he understood how language learning worked, and you have to go and immerse yourself for real. It's more than classroom learning. And so when I was a junior in high school, I spent the summer in a tiny town in Mexico called San Miguel de Allende and loved it, lived with a family and was super immersed. That made me absolutely confident that Spanish and Spanish teaching was going to be my future. And then my junior year, I knew I was going to study abroad, and I went to Indiana University in Bloomington, and they have a phenomenal study abroad program, and their year abroad was in Madrid, Spain. And so I actually really thought I wanted to just be in Mexico, like that was my love. And then I lived in Madrid, and I lived with a family, a mom, a single mom at the time, and her two young children, a 10-year-old boy and an 11-year-old boy. Ultimately, they are still my family. So 30 something years later, they're still my family. They're a huge part of every bit of my love for Spain and my Spanish speaking skills. Especially my Spanish mom, Cruz. She took a very, very active interest, continues to, even as I'm 51. She's still like, no, 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 it's not con, it's day or whatever. She corrects me, and I want her to. But yeah, I lived with them, and that started. that really started my love for Spain. And then as a teacher, I started maybe my second year teaching, taking groups of kids to Spain with the tour company. And I did that for years. And then ended up getting, I've been back, I've spent long periods of time in Spain since then, but got a grant, a teacher creativity grant from Lily, who's in Indianapolis, and spent the summer in Barcelona, living there by myself, actually. My family came to visit for some of it, but I was trying to immerse and wanted to get to know Barcelona the way I feel I know Madrid. And I do, I have. And have, I've been lucky to have a lot of interesting opportunities over the years. And so through the pandemic and through, just as I've gotten older and my kids got older, I was like, what do I love? And I love Spain and I love being in Spain and traveling to Spain. But I have spent years, I hadn't even realized I've spent years helping other people travel to Spain more casually, like years of groups of students, huge groups sometimes. And then I, just decided I was like, maybe I can, I think I could offer people some really helpful guidance with my understanding American culture, especially, but also being a teacher but also having a deep respect for Spanish culture. I'm like, maybe I can offer people real guidance so they can go to Spain confidently, but also respect the differences.
Hmm. I think you mentioned this. I don't know if it was on an Instagram reel or if I saw it on your website, but your work is around respectful travel, slow travel, real experiences. You're not jamming,
Yeah.
5 museums into two
No.
hours. And it sounds like that philosophy really started for you, like living there and living in the culture. But how do you describe that to a client who's so, determined to see all the things? How do you get them to slow down and really, get that experience from you?
So so I'll back up a little because in 2022, after not being able to travel, I'll sound dramatic, but I was pretty desperate to get over there. It had been I hadn't been able to go because of COVID, and I felt like I had to go home, like I had to go home and check in. I mean, so I went by myself. I have a very supportive husband, and I went by myself for 2 weeks. I went to Madrid for a week and I went to Barcelona for a week. And I basically wanted to do conversation classes and wander around and just be there because I was so like it had been such a horrible couple of years and just so challenging. And what I ended up doing was creating a new program for my students so I no longer went with the tour club. And this is why. Because on those 2 week tours that yes, we saw a lot of the country, but we saw it from the bus often and it was super rushed. And we were in and out of hotels, like kids were living out of suitcases. But the biggest thing for me as a teacher was for 2 weeks, and this went on for years, no matter what we did with the tour guide or the experiences, they could go 2 full weeks without ever speaking Spanish. So I was like, we have got to do this a different way. And then after I did my own 2 weeks, I didn't realize what I didn't realize what was I was doing, but I was creating a new program that I have now been doing for several years with my students, which is a week in Madrid, a week in Barcelona. They do homestays, they do classes, but the idea, what I really came to was like, we are doing this wrong. Yes, we're seeing more places, but we're basically checking them off the list, and we're not really getting into what Spain is about, where it's like we don't need to rush. I do understand where people are, and I have felt this way myself traveling to other places where you're like, well, I'm only going to maybe be here once, so I've got to see as much as possible. I get that, but you can get a lot out of slowing down and honestly sitting in plazas, which I do talk about a lot because it is the culture, or tapa hopping, where you're not just like we're eating and we're running. They don't do that. I mean, they do sometimes because life requires it, but more often than not, that's not how life works there. And I wanted my students to see that, and that has then led me to wanting to help my clients or my followers understand that that is part of traveling to Spain. If you can shake it off and like not have a checklist quite the same as, I mean, we all want to do it, but you're not going to miss things. You're not. You're going to see a lot of things. You're going to do a lot of, but you're going to interact with the culture in a very different way than you would if you were in and out of the bus or a rental car or the train and you were just touching base, basically, not really going deeper. And you can go deeper even if you're only there briefly. You really can.
Yeah. I think when we in 2022, so same year, we had the major travel itch, and we took our kids internationally for the first time, and we went to Paris. And my son will tell you, I remember the Eiffel Tower, I remember the Louvre, I loved the Egyptian, displays. But what he really remembers is every night we would walk from our hotel to the playground at the Tuileries, and he played on a playground with French kids. And by like the fourth night, he said, "Mom, I keep telling them I don't speak French." And I'm like, they just think of you as another kid to play with. And I think we also had a conversation about like grocery stores. I love to go grocery shopping in other countries.
Me too. Love it.
I mean, like, talk about a really cool experience. My kids will talk about going to the Monoprix in Paris,
I
you
know
know,
we love the Monopoly.
and how they had like the same taco shells, or it's so funny. I think when you just try to slow down and immerse yourself. And we had that experience in Greece, going to like a little corner store. I mean, it's those experiences that I think shape you, not so much the 50
I
museums that
I
you check off your
agree.
list.
Now I get it. There are works of art, and if that's
Yeah,
your passion, you're like, I need to go see X. Go see X.
yeah,
But one of the things my husband I will say is really good about when we go places, especially when we have small kids, that yes, we were in Paris in 2019 and with the kids, and we were like, we're not huge museum people, but we're also like, it's kind of a big deal. We should probably go to the
yes,
Louvre. And
yes,
so, but he basically did like almost like a scavenger hunt. There were like five things. He's like, these are five things we should probably see. And we raced around and it was super fun. And then we got
right,
ice cream. We
yeah.
didn't spend the whole day forcing it because we felt like it was a requirement. But I agree with you. Grocery stores, sitting and watching the people, um, you know, yeah, just yeah, playgrounds. I mean, so in 2019 in Barcelona that summer, my husband and I would sit in one of the plazas in a neighborhood where regular people live, not a
Yeah,
touristy area. And the kids always asked my son to play soccer. I mean, he didn't speak any Spanish or Catalan for that matter. And
right.
it was fantastic.
Yeah. I
But
think,
that's what we remember.
and that's the value I feel like that you relate to your clients on Instagram, or, people on Instagram or your clients personally. It's you've done those experiences and you can kind of help them shift maybe their priorities. Yes, you've got
I
to
hope
check
so.
the things off your
Mhm.
list, but here's the experiences that you won't want to miss out on. I love
Yeah.
that.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you for highlighting that. It's really important to me.
Okay, so let's shift a little bit to what we talked about earlier, how I thought your answer would be Barcelona. So
Okay.
Spain is very diverse.
It is.
Um, what's one region you think would be perfect for a first-time visitor?
That is a good question. Okay. So it really, I feel that it sort of depends on, and this is why I think working with me is helpful because it will vary. It really does depend. There are reasons to go a variety of places. Yes, there are hot spots and highlights but what people would say are must sees. But it depends on the time of year that you're traveling because although southern Spain is quintessential Spain, it's gorgeous and it's really interesting. It is unbearably hot for good parts of the summer, right? So if you're able to travel, there's different times of the year where I would say if you're a first time traveler, and then it depends on what kinds of things you want to do. What drew you to Spain in the first place? What is making you think that might be a good, you know, destination for you? I do think I mean, again, I'm a city girl, so I'm always want to be careful not to steer people that way because I love them. But Madrid and Barcelona are iconic and they're very different. And people don't realize that, but they are very different. They have very different vibes. They're both big cities, but they're really different. They're very different. And so I do think, just if we were taking out, time of year or kids being in school or certain breaks, I would say, go to Madrid and there are a couple of day trips around Madrid that are worth doing that would give you more of a small town thing. And Barcelona, and then you can do some stuff around there, even some smaller places or not, and you'll get at least a beginning of a vibe. But there are so many regions of Spain that are unique, and it remarkable to me that there are mountains, there are beaches, but there are also cliffs and coves beaches. There are like sandy beaches, but I mean, there's hiking, I mean, there's desert, there's green space that's like Ireland. I mean, people just have no idea. It really is diverse, but time of year makes a difference.
So would you say then for people who are like, I only want to go someplace once because there's so many places in the world I want to see, it sounds to me like Spain, which I've not been before, could be several different places in one country, right? And
Correct. It's
so,
actually easy to move around Spain.
yeah,
Their rail system is fantastic. It's very,
okay.
very good now, and they are continuing to add lines. Even recently. So they're still working to make it more accessible or faster to get places. But I mean, you can get between Madrid and Barcelona in 2.5 hours, and they're actually or they're saying that they're going to make it two. So
Wow.
that's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
Um, and so you could do Madrid, go south a little bit and go back up. You know, you can hit highlights. You can rent car. I mean, you can get all over. And so, like, let's say you love beaches and you're like, I'd like to see Madrid, but I also want to go to you can do that. I think it's so interesting because the US is so vast.
Yeah.
And I always think, like, how do people decide where they're going to go when they come here? If they're only like, if they're from far away and they're like, we're going to go to the US, where do they go? How do they decide? It's so big, you cannot do all of it,
Right. Yeah.
even a little bit of it, really. It feels insurmountable.
Yeah.
But Spain
I
is
think
easier
too,
to
like
do it.
California is similar, right? Where I live in Northern California.
Do
And
you?
then, going to Southern California, it's like an 8 hour drive. It's not just a hop, skip, and a jump. There is no rail system that's going to ever get you there in, in 2 hours.
No, right,
It's
right.
crazy.
Hmm.
I
Yeah, and
love
I
that
mean,
Spain is like, I'm choosing my own adventure, right? Like my beaches, my large cities, different languages spoken, correct?
correct. So everywhere they speak Castilian or Castellanos, Castilian Spanish, which is the Spanish people would be aware of. But, there are other official languages spoken. And so signage and even cultural aspects, cuisine are varied. I mean, it's all wonderful, but it's an adventure even if you never leave the country.
Oh, that sounds
I
amazing.
know.
I've
It's
already got
true.
my bags packed. So let's talk about, we talked about, your what you would recommend. If I were to come to you and say, school vacations are not an issue, right? I want to go the time of year, you pick the time of year. It's me and my family, a teenager and a preteen. We have 2 weeks because we're still Americans with vacation schedules. And
100%.
I like the beach, but I like to see, cultural significant items. Where would you send me? And when I looked on your website, gosh, it's a big menu. So can you talk to the listeners about what you offer and sort of how you
Yes.
recommend?
So the menu, and I've worked with different, well, long story, but I've worked with Indiana University business consultant
Oh,
students who've practiced on me basically,
nice.
and about my consult or my fee schedule, or even like what the services that I offer. And I have I do not want to make it so that if people need a little help, it is impossible to ask me for any. So I offer just resources, like you just need some basic information. I've got some resources for you. So I want to be accessible to all the people who might be traveling. Um, and sometimes I offer recommendations. Maybe maybe you like to do the planning, but you would like a little guidance on some things. You want to talk it out with me. Um, but I think I can make your reservations for you everywhere, and then I take that out of your hands. You don't need to
Cool.
do that. Yeah, I can do itinerary planning. But what's interesting with that first when I started the business, this consulting travel, Spain travel planning with focus, um, I I was so intrigued because I really wasn't sure what to expect, what people were going to need. And it was very clear right away that every single person who I have worked with in the last 2 years has needed different things. And so I needed a way to almost a la carte it because I don't want people to be charged for aspects of service that I'm not giving them. And so, maybe you want me to make your itinerary, but you like choosing your own hotels. You don't want my assistance on that. So like I wanted people to be able to say like, I just want you to help us with a loose itinerary. We've done everything else. Or maybe they don't even know where to start. So we've got to do more of a more in-depth, thorough consult because we've got to talk about where you're going, when you're going, why you're going, who's going with you. So it became very clear that every single person I've worked with does not fit in a box and it is not one size fits all, which is why these college kids are like, well, we really think you could offer packages. And I could, but that really removes a lot. That would remove a lot of the people I've been able to help who have needed maybe sometimes very specific help.
Yeah.
And I need to be able to offer them assistance and not say, no, I can't help you with that because it doesn't fit to this package. So that is one reason. So I always, so I that is why one of the reasons why I offer a free discovery call to start because I don't want anyone to be it can be confusing. So I want people to come and meet me and see if they like my talking to me and that I'm a real person and that I'm not a bot or scamming anybody, but also like get to understand what working with me throughout the process and even while they're traveling is a huge can be a huge relief for most people to know that I have that I'm available for consultation once we start working together. I'm yours throughout your entire trip, the planning, the trip, everything. You can reach out to me and I will help you in real time. But yeah, I just wanted people to be able to before they committed to working with me, do I even want to go to Spain? Let me talk it out a little bit. This is what I think I know about Spain. So I really want people to be able to try before they buy a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I like that. I don't want to, I'm like, well, I don't know this person. I don't want to just spend them. I don't know if I can trust them or I want people to understand that there's no obligation until they can meet me and decide if we would be good to work together. And so that is why for you, for traveling with your family for 2 weeks, I would want to know. So your beach interests, I would want to know what timing you really could travel, for school breaks because school systems vary, but not too dramatically. Although I've got family on the East Coast of the US and they get a February break and then they get an April break, but we only get a March break, but we get out of school in mid-May or late May. I mean, but we go back at the end of, July or beginning of August. It can be pretty skewed. So that's what I like about what I'm doing is that for everybody, it's different. I think very much, I think you would love Valencia. I think your whole family would probably love Valencia.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Valencia is, and I'm going to be honest with you, my son is sitting quietly eating a little bit of lunch and he is going like this. He
I
said
love
Valencia.
it.
My 14-year-old is like, yeah, everybody loved Valencia. We
Oh,
were there this summer to get to know it better. And my son did a week of tennis training. And we had a wonderful experience there. And it's a very healthy city. It's a green city. They're very intentional about healthy things. Are you coming over? Is it okay if he comes and licks the nub?
absolutely.
Come on
Yes, of
over.
course. Hi.
This is Virginia.
Nice
We've
to
been
meet
following each
you.
other for a long time. And so I'm on her podcast now. Carry on. It is sick. Thanks. My 14-year-old thinks we're
Oh,
sick.
well, okay. Thank you. I love that.
So yeah, so I have lots, I would have a lot of ideas but I would love to know what your kids, some of what I would ask you, especially traveling with your kids, is what kinds of things make them happy? What kinds of things do they like? And we would try to make sure that there were going to be some of those things on your journey. Do you feel comfortable renting a car? Because that gives you different options, right? I mean, there's so many things I would suggest to you. I would love to suggest things to you. I think your family would like Spain, but
I love it. You can message me all those later for my husband to read.
absolutely. I've got you.
I I love this connection though because in a world where everything is like Instagrammable, and if you're a discerning adult, you would look at something on Instagram, not your content, but this perfectly curated content. I think of islands like Milos or Mykonos, and you're like, how is that even reality? And it's this personal connection that I think so many of us crave. And I want to hear from an expert like yourself, someone who's lived there, who appreciates the way that maybe we would like to travel. I feel like that's in alignment.
Yes.
And although I love the planning phase, I've never been there. And I get so terrified that I'm going to spend all this money and we're going to show up and there's not going to be what we want it to be. And I love that you are like the boots on the ground for us, right? It's so important to me that there's that ground truth, right?
Thank you. That is what I feel like I feel really good about what I can provide people, but I'm just a real person and we're just going to talk, we're going to work together. It is I really do feel like it's collaborative where I'm not a travel agent.
Ah,
That's why I decided to say consultant because I need to know about you so that I can make sure that what I'm offering you is right for you. And, um, you know, on these experiences with my students over the years that have evolved into my own immersive experience that I offer now, um, I learned a lot about the fact that, for example, some travel agents can only offer a couple of hotels because that's who they work with, even if they're not in the areas that are right for what we're trying to do or require more public transportation or takes more time to, it's just, it is not personalized. And I want everything about what I offer to be very individualized and personalized because that's what I want.
right.
I want someone to understand that like, I consider myself pretty adventurous to a point, but I need air conditioning. I need to I'm a woman, as I say, of a certain age, and I need to be able to sleep or we're all going to be miserable.
Right.
And so as much as I feel a little ashamed to admit that, I just need to admit that. So I do tons of research. And so if I go to another place though and I need, um I have a friend who she doesn't offer consulting services, but she is the me of London. That's where
Oh,
she just really knows, has spent a lot of time there. And I went to her before we went to London 2 years ago with our family, and I was like, honestly, what do I need? I need to be. I know that she's like, well, it never gets really hot. I'm like, yeah, but you know me. I need to be sure that I'm not going to suffocate while I'm trying to go to sleep. Like that little stuff matters. I need
yeah.
to talk to people so I know what their little stuff is,
Right.
right? Do you need a coffee shop next door? Like you can't start until you make sure you get coffee. Like I need
Yes,
to know that kind of
I
stuff.
do.
And I don't want right. But like you can easily pick a hotel that looks good on Google that is actually right next door to a Kentucky Fried Chicken, and that would be sad, maybe. For me, that would be sad. And for most of the people I think who follow me, or definitely people who've worked with me, that's not their vibe.
Right.
And so if you want something that's a little less, commercialized, I can help you with that. But you wouldn't know that. I wouldn't know that going anywhere like in France. When we were
Right.
looking for places to stay in France, I'm like, I don't know. I don't understand I mean, I've learned a lot more about the arrondissements, but I don't speak French. And I was like, I don't know which one's the one I'm supposed to be looking at. How do I know?
Right.
Like, so
It sounds like too this discovery call might be relevant to include like your whole family, right? Meet everyone, meet the kids, meet the husbands, because
yep.
like I mentioned when we traveled in 2022, my husband had never traveled in Europe before, and so he didn't know what to expect. So I think that to me just sounds so amazing. I love it.
Yes, I have met with the families. Or sometimes the kids will come through. Sometimes the spouses. I've had call multiple Zooms where there are grandparents who are taking their families with the grandkids who live in different places. We've all Zoomed at the same time to see if this was right. I mean, I'm yeah, I feel like first thing with me is we've got to make sure that we establish credibility, but also comfort. Like you have to know that I need you to know that I'm aware that every single person's situation is unique. They are.
And your only interest is for people to experience the country that you've fallen in love with over all these decades, right? There's no
Yes.
external motivation, and I love that.
I
That
love I love
resonates
it
so
so much.
much.
I love it so much. And I really it's very easy. I mean, if you go without certain information too, you could be offended or you could be annoyed by certain cultural aspects that are actually not meant to annoy anybody. They're just the way they're done. Things are done there. And no one's ignoring you. No one is being disrespectful. But, we don't even realize some of those cultural nuances for where we live until you see it through the eyes of somebody else
Yeah.
who's like, wow, that's really different than where we live.
Just part of the fun and the beauty of the travel, in my opinion.
Agreed. That's why you travel.
Yep.
But you travel to go see and experience things that are different, but it helps to have, I mean, I really say, I feel like I want to say this all the time. It really helps to know a little before you go,
Yeah.
a little. And then you're going to be like, okay, this isn't weird. This isn't unusual. This is how it functions here. Now we know we can adjust.
I love that. We have a few minutes left. I can't believe I feel like we could talk forever.
I feel like we could talk forever too. We can do another one if you want
I
sometime.
love it. We're gonna have to do part two, but this is
That's
so
great.
timely. I feel like as people are planning their summer travel, I wanted us to connect to be able to help people. February, I feel like is when a lot of people are either done with income taxes and ready to spend money on travel, and they're kind of looking ahead. So I feel like this is so perfect in timing for us to sort of get this out there.
I appreciate it. And yes, because it is always the time to start planning your trip anywhere really. But Spain it's popular and that can be good and bad. So I want to help people not contribute to the chaos, but also understand that people need to go during certain times because that's when our schedules allow with our children or our jobs. So I really want to make sure that people don't miss out on experiences because people need to start planning. So starting to think about it, even if you just are kind of mulling it over, it's good to start mulling it over now.
Yeah,
So
definitely. Okay, two rapid fire questions before
sure,
we wrap up. I had a whole list of them as I always do, but I'm trying to figure out the best one. This is
I
a good
promise we
one.
can do a part two. We can.
I
I
okay,
would love
let's
it.
uh, consider that done. So,
Okay.
if not Spain, if you weren't going to Spain next, where would you go? And this is
Mm.
rapid fire, so you just gotta
Oh,
belt it out.
Italy, Italy.
Oh, okay, love it.
Food,
Um,
food. I love food. I love eating. Go ahead.
First food you eat when you get home.
Oh gosh. Um, oh, that is really tricky because I don't crave anything from home when I'm gone because I want to eat all the things in Spain. But I'm gonna be honest. I have a Diet Dr. Pepper from a fountain. It's not food. It's a fountain soda with ice.
Crispy fountain soda with ice.
Yes,
I love it.
that is, yeah, that's the first thing I've got to do.
And so I'll ask this question and then we can go into this in part two because I do think this is really relevant to people.
Okay.
Hotel or home rental, and does it depend on the region?
It very much does. I would say more often than not, if you're in cities, hotel,
Okay.
because the rentals have become a massive burden. But I want to say caveats for every single person's uniqueness because I've got families of five that you cannot stay in the same room and then you've got two rooms and that's not possible. And I want you to be able to travel there. There are apartment hotels
Okay.
that are quite that can help in that. So, but small towns rentals are different. It's not quite the same overtaking where people can't find places to live like in the big cities, especially Barcelona.
Yeah, I know that was a big topic of conversation over the summer
Yep.
and always wanting to be a respectful traveler and just not wanting to stick out like a tourist, right? You just want to go and experience,
Right.
but you want to be respectful to the people who live there.
Right. Because they do need us. They need tourism. We just want to do it in a way that is not crushing the culture or
Yeah,
their regular lives is
right.
how I want to do it. Yeah.
I love this. This was incredible. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun. I love talking to you. This is so wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. So, where can people find you? Your Instagram, your website, all of that, and then I'll link it, of course, in the show notes too.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Those are the easiest ways. And I have a website, but honestly, the Instagram is probably the best because you can see a little bit of what I do and who I am and what I sound like, or, and you can DM me from there. There are also links in my bio that to set up the free discovery call, or even some other links to see some, basic resources that I offer for free.
Love it. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you in